Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuiki. Coming up, New Caledonia looks ahead to provincial elections. Also,
in my village where the Manawanui is grounding, people hardly go for fishing at the moment.
Locals near Manawanui sinking are still seeking answers. And
when we're under pressure like that, how do we get out of it? Finding solutions to get us back in the game.
Moana Pasifika regroup after brutal loss to the Chiefs. With provincial elections in New Caledonia set down for November, the question of who will be eligible to vote is again entering the debating chamber. Several scenarios are emerging, including a law proposal by Senator Georges Naturel, legal challenges, in the hope of finding a political compromise. Lydia Lewis spoke with a local journalist, Coralie Koshin, who's been covering the story.
Now there's a new project from, it's not a deputy, it's called a senator from the Senate, from a Caledonian politician. He has a project of law for opening the vote to more people in New Caledonia. And so there are a lot of debate about that right now.
When was it announced?
His person is Georges Naturel, and he's elected to the French Senate, a part of Parliament. In the French Parliament, you have the Senate and National Assembly. Last week, he made this proposition of law to allow the native people, but that have parents that can't vote to provincial elections. His aim is to allow them to vote.
And so how does this differ from the previous one?
So last year, there was a point to allow people who were born here, but without parents that are allowed to vote. But there was another point, which was to allow people who are living there, who have been living here for 10 years, to be allowed to vote.
So does this one essentially scrap that part, the 10 years thing, and
yes.
but it includes the other parts?
Yes, and that's a problem for some people because they say, why are we not included? But the thing is that if you want to include people that have been living here for 10 years, you need more than just an organic law. You need to go to change the constitution. So that's the biggest thing.
And that's what was the catalyst really for the riots last year.
Exactly.
So are there fears that the proposal now will spark riots, or since it doesn't include that specific constitutional issue, are pro-independence sides not as worried?
I think he's not worried about that, about new riots, because it's just about people who were born here. So most of independentist people are okay with that. But he's more criticized from the right wing, who wants to include people who have been living here for 10 years.
Right. So quite a lot of debate still going on. Do the right-wing sides acknowledge the issues that raises in terms of instability in the country?
They are still pushing, saying that it's not because we had riots last year that we have to be afraid of changing the law.
So what else is important to note for this story?
That's not the only thing that is attempted to influence the change of voting, the right-wing politicians, they said that they would also try to go to justice. I don't know how to say it, when you want to attempt trials or stuff like that.
To the court, go to the court.
Yes. They said that they maybe will go to the court to attack some decisions because they really want to open the voting frame.
How does that make New Caledonians feel? Obviously, everyone has different perspectives, but does that bring another layer of uncertainty?
For the Caledonian people, this subject of who can vote and who cannot vote is really central. And we could see that last year with the riots. So I would say that this subject has to be taken very carefully, but also it's a way to win votes. So we can see that the politicians, they speak about this subject with a lot of interest because they say, oh, maybe we can be elected thanks to that. But this subject can also put the country again into fire. So it's very dangerous in a way.
People living close to where the Manawanui sank in Samoa are still concerned about fish being poisoned from pollutants. This is despite the country's Marine Pollution Advisory Committee deeming it safe to collect seafood in the area. The New Zealand Navy has also finished removing diesel, pollutants and other debris from around the ship. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
Whangai Lesau Awhiaso Jr. Saliupu lives in Tawhituala village, right next to where the Manawanui sank. He says people are still scared to eat fish collected by the wreck.
In my village where the Manawanui is grounding, people hardly go for fishing at the moment. The reason why, because they are really suspicious of getting any fish poison.
The Manawanui ran aground on the reef off the south coast of Upolu in early October last year before catching fire and sinking. The New Zealand Navy has completed removing diesel, oil and other pollutants from the ship. Fuitupai Mao Samanu, the chairman of Samoa's Marine Pollution Advisory Committee, says people have been able to fish in the area since the 12th of February when the precautionary pause was removed. His statement has been voiced.
The decision to remove the precautionary zone was made after the Marine Pollution Advisory Committee was satisfied with the evidence that it was safe for fishing to resume. The Scientific Research Organisation of Samoa is the scientific arm of the committee who did the tests and provided the supporting data.
But Whangai Lesau says people are still worried. He also says there's not the same number of fish as there was before.
There are some other sea animals that we always use to make food and sell. Till now, we never see that again.
Whangai Lesau says the community are still waiting to hear from the Samoan government on financial compensation.
From the time that the Manawanui grounding, for our village, there's a beach palace there. All the guests cancel, all the booking cancel that time.
Fui says people who lost income due to the Manawanui sinking will have their concerns addressed.
Discussions of compensation are going on at the moment. A separate committee has been appointed by government to handle this. People who have been affected will be given an opportunity to apply.
New Zealand's Commodore Andrew Brown says a risk assessment is being done now by independent experts.
And that will be used by both the New Zealand and Samoan governments to inform the next steps and for decision-making purposes.
There's still a 2-kilometre prohibitive area around the Manawanui. Commodore Brown says it's in place because there is still a lot of hazards that exist around and on the ship.
There was one thing both Whaalongo Tana Umanga and Ari Savia agreed on about the Chiefs on Saturday night, after the side were thumped 85-7 by the Chiefs at the FMG Stadium in Hamilton. It was a unanimous verdict, they declared. Moana Pasifika still needs to grow to reach the standard their host displayed in front of thousands. The Moana Pasifika head coach and captain both stated that their hosts were ruthless, precise and too clinical across the field and denied Moana Pasifika any real chance to get any momentum going. So what went wrong? Joining me is our senior sports journalist Eliesa Tora, who was at the game and breaks it all down. Bula Eliesa, that was definitely not the result that Moana Pasifika were hoping to get on the night. What do you think happened out there on the field?
Yes, certainly not the result that Moana Pasifika needed and wanted on Saturday night. It was something that was totally unexpected as per their expectations. But the Chiefs just turned up, did everything right, and they just shut down Moana Pasifika. The Chiefs didn't allow any mistakes. They didn't allow Moana to get possession and build phases. They stopped Moana from doing any damage early, and they just kept the pressure up from the opening whistle right even until the final whistle, they totally just shut down Moana Pasifika on the night. And, that showed. But, even when that happened, Moana still tried. They still tried. They opted to go up front, wanted to spin the ball wide, but it was just on their night, and the Chiefs totally just dominated and were ruthless in the 80 minutes display out there at the FMG Stadium.
And what were the reactions from Coach Whaalongo Tana Umanga and Captain Ari Savia?
Well, frustrated they were initially, and also down because they saw their players really show the effect of the big loss. The players were down in the change room. At the post-match conference, both Whaalongo Tana Umanga and Ari Savea both stated that it was a frustrating night. Frustrating in the sense because they had prepared well during the week, and they thought that they had everything covered. They had a game plan that they were ready to implement, but it just didn't work for them. Tana actually, acknowledging the Chiefs for the high standard they showed, and said that was a performance that sent signals to every other team in the top six that the Chiefs meant business, and he reckons that they will be tough to handle once the playoff rounds come into effect. Ari, of course, pointed to the precision in how the forward pack of the Chiefs just went to work, and they nailed their jobs, nailed the processes, and they just kept going. And they are hopeful that they can learn from the lessons. There were heaps of things that they thought that they had identified and also learned from, and one of the most important things is that they need to just lift their standard and come back consistent in their next game.
Yeah, well, they definitely need to hang on to their hope, because this loss puts Moana Pasifika's chance of cementing their top six spot in the air again. How can the team improve, and what do they need to do heading into their clash against the Hurricanes?
I think both Tara and Adi and the coaching and leadership team understand the importance of this week's game against the Hurricanes, which is a must-win game for them. And on top of that, they understand that, first of all, the players need to come back. They need to come back with self-belief, and that is something I believe they will be, focusing, messaging on this week, that the players need to forget about what happened in Hamilton last Saturday and focus on what they will need to be doing against the Hurricanes this week. But just getting possession. Very important that they will need to get the possession first and foremost, get the possession, and then utilize it, and then just use what they have been doing in their last few games, and especially throughout the season. They've shown that they can contest, that they can build the momentum, that they can drive, that they can make the impact, that they can play in the right sides of the field, and have their drivers, their halfback and first five, just get the ball into the opposition's 22. That is something I know that Moana can do. They've shown it during the season. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that last Saturday, but if there is any game that is critical, a must win for them, it's going to be this week, and they need to learn and implement what lessons they had, got out of the loss to the Chiefs last weekend.
Okay, so there's one more round before the competition comes to an end. How are the teams shaping up? Who are the definite qualifiers in the top six, and who still need to win to get there?
Well, right now, with the tables, the only teams that are going to be fighting to get into the top six are the Blues and Moana Pasifika. Basically, the top five, I think it's already wrapped up. You have the Chiefs there, you have the Crusaders, you have the Brumbies, You have the Hurricanes, and and the Reds, and Moana Pasifika are basically sitting at 6, but they will need to win this week to secure that playoff spot. On the other hand, the Blues are also just one step below Moana Pasifika, and they have a game against the Wartas this weekend at Eden Park. The Blues will need to win with a bonus. Moana Pasifika needs to win and get that spot if they are serious. So interesting how things are going to turn around, and the results that we all look forward to. The top 5 are confirmed. It's a fight between the Blues and Moana Pasifika, and then from there, then they will place the top team against the 6, 2 and 5, and 3 and 4 going into the playoffs next weekend. So basically, the Blues and Moana Pasifika are in must-win games this weekend to secure their top 6 finish.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.